Immigration attorney here, and today I'm excited to talk to you all about your US naturalization interview, and most specifically, how to avoid the most common mistakes that we see um, in this process. Um, as I mentioned, my name is Yael. I'm an immigration attorney here in Orange County, California. Our office is located in Southern California, but we do represent clients throughout the US and all over the world with their immigration needs. So if you are here first time, you're new to our channel or new to our Facebook page, please like our page, subscribe to our channel so that you can see um, updates and videos and information all about US immigration. So today I have a great topic for you guys. Today I'm going to talk about your naturalization interview, which in common language is your citizenship interview. And really, the process of naturalization is the last step in your immigration process. And for many people, it is, the step that happens after years and years of them being in immigration process. Some people are in this process for decades. So when they finally get to the immigration, last step of the immigration process to their naturalization case, there's a lot on the stake. So just in general, I'll talk a little bit about when can you apply for naturalization, and I'll talk more about the interview. What are the most common mistakes that we see people or clients do at their interview, and I'll also give some of my helpful tips to rock your interview and get that citizenship. Perfect. So if you are interested in applying for naturalization, you need to know that there are some requirements. So the main requirement is that you have to be, generally speaking, a lawful permanent resident first. So you have to have a certain amount of time where you are a green card holder. Usually, the general rule is that it's 5 years after you receive your green card, you can apply for naturalization. However, if you are married to and living with a US citizen, you can apply after 3 years of being a US citizen. That's the general rule of time. You have to show that you are over the age of 18, that you can speak, read, and write English to a certain level, and that you're familiar with US history, civics, and government. Okay, that all goes into your civics test and your English test as part of the interview. You have to show that you have been continuously residing here in the United States and you have the required physical presence in the United States before you apply for naturalization. Okay, so those are the general most significant requirements. Okay, so let's say you have the required amount of time as a resident, and now you can apply for naturalization. So what you need to do is you need to file Form N-400. That's application for the naturalization. You would file it with immigration, with USCIS. After the N-400, usually, after you file it, usually you would be called for biometrics, which is the fingerprints, which is for background checks. Okay, and after that, you will be called for an interview. So an interview is very common with naturalization applicants, and the goal of the interview is to confirm that you meet the requirements to become a US citizen. Okay. Thanks for all of you that are joining right now. If you have any comments or any questions about your naturalization process, please write them here in the comments. And also, if you are watching the recording of this today, please feel free to write your comments and we'll get to them as we see them. Okay, perfect. So you are ready for your naturalization interview. You got a date scheduled. What are some of the most common mistakes that we see? Okay, so the first mistake that we see really is lack of preparation. You need to prepare for your interview. This interview is no joke. You have to be ready for it. You have to prepare in two ways. First of all, you have to review your application for naturalization that you filed. And sometimes you might have filed it many months ago. So you have to refresh your memory read everything that you wrote there and be familiar with your application, because you are going to be asked questions from your application. So you need to be familiar with what you submitted. Okay, you don't want to contradict or say something, not know an answer to something that you answered on your application, because that just does not look good. Okay. Um, the second thing that you need to prepare for is you need to prepare for your test. Okay, like I said in the beginning, there is a test. There's a civics test and an English test. Okay, and in my opinion, if you're ready for your test, you should have no problem to pass it. Okay, if we talk about the English test first, you are going to be tested on your speaking, your reading, and your writing. In terms of speaking, just general conversation with the officer, just to show that you can have a conversation and you understand the basic English. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect English, just enough to get by, just enough so that you can understand the officer and the officer can understand you. In terms of reading and writing, you'll ask to write one sentence and read one sentence. And again, these sentences are with a set vocabulary, meaning they're not going to ask you to write any word that is available in the language of English. There is a list of words and a vocabulary that you need to memorize. If you memorize these words, there's not going to be any surprises. Okay, the same goes for your civics test. So there's a pool of 100 questions, and out of those 100 questions, the officer is going to ask you 10. And out of the 10, you need to get 6 correct. If you memorize those questions, I promise you're going to pass your test. Okay, there is no surprise questions. All the questions are known and all the answers are known. So it's all about preparation. If you're prepared, you're going to be just fine. For the civics test, we recommend to our clients to go on YouTube. There's a lot of videos. There's a lot of apps that you can download on your phone to practice every day. If you have a few minutes here, a few minutes there, if you're prepared, you will pass. Okay, I've seen clients not pass their interview, not pass their test, and when I talk to them and debrief them after their interview, they didn't have an attorney, they didn't know really how serious it was, and it was just that they admitted that they did not study for the test. So be prepared and you'll be just fine. The second mistake that I see with our clients is that they have inconsistent information. Now, something to know about your naturalization process and why you shouldn't take it so easily is because when you go to your naturalization, what your citizenship interview, the officer is going to have access to your previous file, right? To your immigration file. They're gonna see most likely your green card application, and they're gonna compare. And they're going to see what you wrote on your naturalization application and what you wrote on your green card application. And if you're filing very soon after green card, so let's say you're married to a US citizen and 3 years after you got your green card, you filed for naturalization, you have to make sure that the information is correct and it's consistent. Okay, I've seen it happen where people come to the interview and they write different answers to questions on the application for naturalization than they did in the application for their green card 3 years ago. So that goes to the officer, that makes the officer question the credibility of the applicant. And one of the requirements for naturalization, I actually didn't mention this in the beginning, is that you have to be a person of good moral character. You have to show that you are a person that has a good moral standard, and someone that is dishonest could lack good moral character. Okay, and that could prevent an officer to deny your case. So if the officer sees addresses or answers things are not adding up from the previous application, that could be a big red flag. Things like marriage dates, divorce dates that you've lived with your spouse. If you're divorced from the spouse that petitioned you, and you indicated that you lived with your spouse on your green card application during a certain amount of time, and then during that same time period, you indicated on your N400, your citizenship application, that you lived in a different place, that can cause the officer to question your green card application. And that's the last thing that you want to do. Beyond lacking good moral character for being dishonest or being, non-credible, if it is found that there was an issue in your green card, your residency could be in danger. Okay, being consistent is very important. Okay, so if you don't have your green card application, you can ask for a copy of your case with immigration if you're not sure what you wrote on your previous applications. Okay. If you're not sure and you need assistance, then talk to an immigration lawyer to get the best advice. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And I'm jumping to my third most common mistake that people do when they go to their immigration interview, their naturalization interview, is that they don't bring the required documents. Now, here's the thing. When you get an interview notice, a lot of the documents are not listed on that notice that you need to bring. There's just a general document list, but that list pertains to everyone and it's not specific for you. Okay. So there's certain documents that you must always bring or it's recommended to bring. If you don't bring the required documents, that can cause your case to be delayed. It could cause it, to be denied, right? And it's really setting the wrong impression on the officer. Okay, so technically, anything on that naturalization application, um, any question you can be asked to verify. So if it says, what is your marital status and you're married or you're divorced, the officer can ask to see your marriage certificate or your divorce decree. If you have children, officer might ask that to see the children's birth certificates. They can ask. If you say that you filed taxes in the last 5 years, which is one of the questions, then they might want to see your last 5 years of tax returns. Okay. Also, very important. If you received your green card based on employment because an employer petitioned you, the officer is going to ask you for proof that you worked for the employer after your green card. And this is something that always surprises potential clients and clients when we tell them this, because it doesn't appear on the list of documents that you need to bring with you to your interview. Okay. But it's something that we know that they do ask every time. Okay. So bring the documents that you need. It's super important. It causes you to present yourself in the best way and avoid delays or denials in your case. Number 4, in my opinion, the fourth, common mistake is people are being dishonest at their interview. Now, I mentioned a couple of times already that good moral character is one of the requirements for naturalization. So you need to show that you're a person of good moral character in the last 3 or 5 years. And not being honest on your application can lead to a determination that you are lacking good moral character. It can also cause the officer not to believe you, and it just hurts your credibility. So my first tip, my takeaway, maybe for this whole presentation, is it's super important to be honest at your naturalization interview and in any interview that you have with immigration throughout your immigration journey, because being found to have committed a misrepresentation or not be honest really is something that's very hard to overcome later. Many times, what we're trying to hide or not being honest about is something that won't prevent you from becoming a citizen. Okay. But lying about it might prevent you. So I can share an example. I had a client that came to me after his naturalization case was denied. He went to his interview, he was denied. And he came to me and he didn't understand why it was denied. And what happened was that he many years ago, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, he was arrested. He was arrested. He was probably very young, 18 or 19 at the time, and he was with friends and they were drinking and they were underage and they got arrested for drinking underage. Okay. And then he forgot about it. I mean, he remembered it, but he didn't really pay attention to it too much. And when he continued with his life, and 20, 30 years after, he decided that he wants to apply for naturalization. So he's always been a resident, and he decided that he wanted to apply for naturalization. And when in the naturalization application, there's questions about your criminal history, right? They want to know if you've ever been arrested, if you've ever been convicted, if you've ever seen a judge, all those questions. And he was debating what to do, and he decided that I was just drinking underage. I was like 18 or 19. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter anyway. And he didn't include it. Well, when he got to his interview, the officer was able to run a background check and did see that he was arrested before. And he denied his case, not because he was arrested, but because he did not disclose it. And yeah, this officer was probably pretty extreme because he did, a lot of times officers do give you the opportunity to, amend your application and fix it and confess to the, the mistake or the error that you did with not indicating it on your application. But this officer was really strict and he did not. Okay, so the bottom line of this story is that a lot of times what you're trying to hide or what you're not being honest about wouldn't even affect your case anyway. Okay, so it's always better to be honest. It's always better to tell the officer that you don't remember something if you really don't remember it, as opposed to trying to come up with an answer that you think would be the right answer for the officer. At your naturalization interview, you are taking an oath. You're taking an oath to tell the truth and under penalty of perjury, right? So you are taking an oath. This is a federal officer, and it's just the consequences of not being honest could be really extreme, and I just don't recommend it. Okay. So those were my four kind of most common mistakes that I see with folks that are applying for naturalization. If you are thinking of filing for naturalization, I think it's a great time right now. We're August 2023. We are seeing super quick adjudications of naturalization cases. We filed a case. We filed a case a couple weeks ago, and our client already got an interview notice of it. 2 weeks. It was insane. So we're seeing this. It's common now that the interviews are scheduled quickly. So this is a great time to file for naturalization, and I recommend doing it. And that's it for me for today. Those are my the most common mistakes and my tips to master your naturalization interview. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. If you're watching the recording of this, you can write in the comments and I promise to reply back. And if you want a personalized consultation for your case, we do offer a free naturalization eligibility screening. So we can have a consultation with you, review with you, confirm that you're eligible for naturalization, and give you that confirmation that you need if you're not so sure. Our information here is here on the screen. If you want to reach out to us, we would love to help you. And if you are interested in getting more information about immigration and joining us for more of these events, please like our page, subscribe to our channel for more. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your day and see you soon.